I'm going to ask your kind indulgence early on in the program this evening, because frankly, after I closed my program over at headon.live at 8 p.m., I made a terrible mistake. I saw a notification come across my phone that Julius Geezer was speaking in South Carolina, Stan. And in a moment of extremely poor judgment, I grabbed the stream of it. And for all I know, the mad bastard is still at it. This guy is apparently now moved into that phase of his dementia where he's angling to try to out stemwinder Fidel Castro. And so he's down ostensibly, and see, this is part of the dodge. Everything that Donald J. Trump does has an element of grift, graft, corruption to it. And in this particular instance, he goes around the country on the pretext that he's campaigning for some maggot schmuck candidate somewhere in the country. And he, whether it was Minnesota or this evening, it's South Carolina, Stan. And he will make nominal mention of the maggot schmuck who's running for office. In the case of South Carolina, it's whoever the asshole is who's governor there. Pure maggot through and through. But then he goes on just these. I mean, the word mad comes to mind. I'm also reminded of the line that Nancy Dussault utters in one of my favorite comedies, The In-Laws, from the late 1970s, when she realizes that just exactly what's going on, and she looks to her daughter and says, "That crazy little bastard has involved your poor father in something." Well, that's the way I feel about Donald Trump. That crazy little bastard has involved our poor country in something. And the madness, it's like that goddamned Hawaiian volcano that just continues to spew and spew and spew. And so Trump was down there in South Carolina spewing. And it's stream of consciousness or unconsciousness or non-consciousness that would put the likes of Thomas Pynchon, William Faulkner, and James Joyce all rolled into one to shame. But the goddess of irony doesn't miss much, really, truth seeker. The fact of the matter is, one of the things that he started blathering on about was, of all people, David Lynch. Now, the director David Lynch, the Twin Peaks, for the science fiction fans among us, that really weird Baroque version of Dune, and particularly his most bizarre work, I think, Blue Velvet. And it's kind of weird because David Lynch apparently said that Trump could be remembered as one of the greatest presidents. This from a guy who gave us a TV show about a dwarf dancing around a talking log. I mean, yeah, okay, and or the role that Dennis Hopper played in Blue Velvet, and once you've seen it, you're just you can't unsee it. And there's an element of all the stuff that David Lynch did and has done that is a sort of it has a mad edge to it. It has a demented edge to it. And so, lo and behold, the geezer discussed us as there behind the podium in South Carolina, and David Lynch, of course, said, "I may be the greatest president, one of the greatest presidents, and now his career is over because nobody will speak to him now." Because there's so many people in Hollywood, a lot of them voted for me, but they won't admit it. I mean, what's another David Lynch? Mulholland Drive. I'm still trying to figure that one out. But it's kind of interesting that the madness is that he practices madness it's because, goddamn, it's beginning to look, it feels like we're just sort of, Alex in the Clockwork Orange, when he's sitting there watching the screen with his little eyes sort of jacked open with those little metal devices where he can't blink, and it feels like the whole country is like that, and we're watching a David Lynch film of a maniac become president. In the interview, David Lynch went on and said, while he may not think Trump's doing a good job as president, he may have opened the door for other political outsiders to take on leadership roles. Oh, goody. Because, what we need is more amateurs. Yeah. But like I said, my brains may be a little bit shaky for what I saw and heard over the course of the last hour or so. You can't just watch that lunacy dispassionately. And all the little maggots there with their Chinese maggot hats, and they're all clapping, and they're carried away by religious paroxysms of orgiastic frenzy. And you ask yourself, what the fuck has happened to my country?